So, so we talked about HD re-releases. We talked about sequels and prequels. So I guess the most logical step to go is remakes and reboots.
Yeah.
So things that maybe stalled out
Yeah.
and they need some sort of re-energizing to
Yeah.
bring it back. The most recent one I think is Tomb Raider.
Neither of us have played the game.
No.
I plan to play the game definitely, but I just haven't got around to it. I've played some of the original games. Like I played maybe demos of some of the original Tomb Raiders. I played the whole thing of Tomb Raider Chronicles, which I thought was more of a action based instead of just raiding tombs and solving puzzles or so. But it still was the same thing, but it was interesting. But it definitely they needed to reboot it or so because it got kind of ridiculous. Like my criticism was you had the jumps, you had to time it right. You find yourself reloading the saves or so to get the jump right, and that's kind of annoying. I mean,
and especially the first one. The first one was just crazy.
Got the hostage. Go this way first. You go. I go right. You go left.
You go.
Oh, never mind. This is the wrong room. You know where he went. All right. Now the other room. I go right. You go left.
Yeah.
Why the hell is he aiming at him?
Because he's obviously a bad guy.
Yeah. Failed. Oh well. Yeah, another one that's kind of recent or so that people they had a problem with Tomb Raider, but I'll get into that in a second. A Devil May Cry, they were freaking out about the look of Dante. I mean, I haven't played the Devil May Cry series. I've never really gotten into it.
I played the first one, and it was ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's like they're freaking out about about how it looked and the whole remake of it where Dante was different with this reboot.
Right.
And one thing I can remember about them freaking out about a reboot was in the Tomb Raider, they were freaking out about the portrayal of. I mean, it was different. It was a younger Lara, but it was also that she was somewhat helpless at this time. And yeah, it makes sense for story-wise, but it felt like it was just one big issue.
I remember the one.
It's going back to like the women, the women sexism thing. That one big criticism they saw in like a demo is that there was an attempted rape in the game. I don't know the details. I haven't played the game, but from what maybe they took it out.
From what I heard is it wasn't. It kind of looked like it was that, but it actually wasn't, or it didn't really play out much.
Yeah.
It was just kind of there. But the fact that it had to be there,
yeah,
it's I don't know.
It just seemed like to build a character, it goes back to like that sexist thing. It's like to build a character for a female character, she has to be nearly raped or something.
Right.
That's one of the big criticisms that came.
And that's just kind of like a problem with the narratives.
Yeah.
In general.
Yeah.
Especially someone who doesn't know how to write a female character. They're like,
Yeah.
well, the best thing you can do is have her raped, and that will make her stand out as a character. And that's
give her some characters. Right. It's kind of mean.
right.
Oh, we got to send the bomb for Alright, do we cover or you want to do the bomb? Alright, well I got the better gun, so you should
right, you got
it. Down here. Like we said, we haven't had much experience with this, but one game that was a big reboot that was I think did very well or so. I hope it comes out with a sequel. I'm interested to see the sequel, but Mortal Kombat, they revamped their whole thing. For a while, they've been struggling with the new technology. They wanted to go 3D with Mortal Kombat 4 and then Deadly Alliance and Deception, which were interesting takes on it story-wise. And they decided to revamp the whole series. And they found a way where still acknowledging the original games, basically. In the first beginning of it, they have the thing, they basically taking over from their last game, which was, I forget the name of it now. It escapes me right now, but it was basically that this whole thing that everyone had to compete to obtain this ultimate power, and basically everyone was fighting each other. And what you see is everyone at this point, it was down to Raiden and Shao Kahn, and basically Raiden was losing, so Shao Kahn would have attained the power of an elder god, and taken over, and then basically Raiden says this thing, he must win, and then it flashes forward back to Raiden younger, almost receiving that message, but it's at the first tournament where Liu Kang is still young, and there's, it's still the first tournament, Shang Tsung's still there and everything. So it's like flashback to it, like this subtle little message that transmitted through time and space, like an alternate universe, and then the story goes on from there, and it ends like rather interesting. Is why I'm interested to see a sequel, because people died or so. A lot of people died in it or so. When they had killed characters before, it seemed like the way they were going for this, they weren't going to be coming back. But like I said, it's a sequel. There's room to do more with it. But otherwise, the gameplay was back to the 2D style, 3D 2D style way, and it was very good. It was a lot more brutal than more so. They have these X-ray moves where it really takes a lot of damage away from the opponent, and it was very, very gritty. It really kind of makes you cringe a bit, and in fatalities especially. Now, one thing I gotta say, quick time out here, I had so much fun with the sound. You can't hear it now if you turn down the volume for the sake of the recording, but you can hear the whish of the blade as we like flip them back and forth between throw and slash. So I just had so much fun with that. It's like, ooh, I'm so cool. I'm so cool. I'm so good with the knife. I'm not dropping it. I'm not cutting myself with the knife as I switch back and forth or so. But it's just a weird little thing I got, a weird little enjoyment I got out of it. So. Oh shoot. Shouldn't have ran towards him. Yep. So it was definitely definitely a very good reboot or so. Right. I mean, there's like a lot of games that you think might could do a reboot. Like I played a little bit of Crash Bandicoot. I beat the Warped game. Crash Bandicoot Warped, that is, and
I didn't have like any
PlayStation.
Yeah, PlayStation.
Neither of us have played Jack and Dexter. I played maybe demos of Ratchet and Clank, and they seem like interesting. But they're coming out with sequels or so. It might be time to reboot the series or so. I might argue, since I played it, but you didn't play it, Banjo-Kazooie, they did a sequel to it, Nuts and Bolts, which had nothing, well, it had, story-wise, it had something to do with the original game, but the gameplay had nothing to do with the original one. And while that's an interesting thing to do something different, it just didn't seem that enjoyable to me. It was a classic platformer, but I feel like nowadays that's always a risk now with making a cutesy platformer, but even so. But one thing we can definitely agree on for something that definitely could use a reboot, which I think they are doing. No, they're doing more sequels to that. We can't really say because we haven't played them, but I mean.
I do.
You played them? You played Ratchet and Clank?
Yeah.
What did you think of it?
I like the weapons they had. Like, it's what
I need to collect these maulers. I don't have another gun like you.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, just saying. Oh yeah. So, unlike the other games we were talking about, where it's like very mature and stuff like that. Like, they have over-the-top weapons and they know it.
Yeah. They have fun with it.
Yeah, they have fun with it, which is pretty cool.
But does it really need to be rebooted? I mean, if it's going in a different path, I mean, you haven't played the sequel, so maybe it all ties in together well.
Yeah, it's possible.
Didn't like lose its way. I don't think at any point it lost its way. So.
Right.
But I'm thinking something that definitely needs to be rebooted. So both of us haven't really played the most recent one, but Resident Evil seems to need to find its way again.
Yeah. As much as the the remake was for GameCube.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4. So revamping the gameplay.
Yeah. So I love 4. 4 was good. 5 was a fun experience, but it definitely felt like something was missing.
It needed to be updated more if it was going to go with this. Not this right now. if it was going to go with this shooter aspect of it, it needed to go update with other shooters. Like,
right.
I need to be able to move the shooter.
Yeah, which was just kind of weird.
Yeah. Now, I can't remember because I played the demo of Resident Evil 6. I do hopefully eventually plan to get to the other one, to get the 6 and try it out, just for the sake of the story. But yeah, I can't remember if you can move while you aim. But
I think you can, and they actually made a big
deal about
yeah,
that.
I remember seeing a demo, and there was like this big deal about it's like, you know, look at this, you can aim and move, and it's like, wow, that was done like 5 years ago.
Yeah, but and one of the big criticisms, I mean, I haven't, you know, like I said, I haven't completely played it and all, but the criticism is that there's a lot of quick time events. One thing I did see in the demo was that it was that there's one point you jump into a car and and while you're being attacked by zombies, you have to look for the keys to the car and start it up or so, like a quick time event with that. I mean, I've experienced something like that in like the Walking Dead game, but you weren't expecting it with like something like Resident Evil, which is not focused on the insanity at the moment, survival stuff in that sense. I mean, it's trying to do hard in a way, but it's like too much quick time event. But yeah, I think they are planning to redo it though. But
yeah, well, I think they need to move off of whatever storyline they are on. Or realize Resident Evil 4 was awesome, and
that was just a rare thing. But
yeah,
that. But
well, I think they tried to go with that, and like, you know, they saw Resident Evil 4 worked out well for the new control scheme, and they're like, oh man, let's expand this, let's add another player. And, you know, make co-op happen, and then it just, I don't know. I feel like it just kind of fell apart.